After the mirror shattered, the palace exhaled. Not literally, of course, but everything felt looser, lighter, like tension that had been bound in the walls for years was finally gone. The curse was broken, and with it, the invisible thread that had tied me and Amelia together in confusion, in conflict, in fate, had finally unraveled. We were no longer tangled. We were just us. The Queen called for a feast that night. Not a grand one, not political, just family and a few trusted court members gathered in the gold-tiled dining hall with warm bread and wine and laughter that didn't feel rehearsed. For once, no one asked us to give speeches. No one whispered titles. We weren't imposters or heirs or oracles of fate. We were just two girls who had made it through the storm. I sat beside Amelia. She looked more at peace than I'd ever seen her. Not because she had all her memories, but because she finally had a name she didn't have to question. Her own. When the fire burned low and the plates were cleared, the king took me aside. His voice was soft, and I could see the lines of age more clearly in the candlelight.
"You've done more for this kingdom than any title could reflect,"
he said.
"And I know this palace has not always felt like your home."
I nodded.
"No crown will ever change that, Emma,"
he continued.
"You've earned your place, but I won't keep you here."
I knew what he was saying, and more than that, I knew the question he wasn't asking out loud. Do you want to stay, or do you want to go? Later that night, I walked alone through the gardens, the same ones I used to sneak into when palace life felt suffocating. But they felt different now. Open, kind. Like they too had been waiting for something to end. I sat on the edge of the fountain, the cool stone beneath me grounding my thoughts. And I asked myself the question I had been circling since the day Sir Cedric arrived in Nelson's hood with a scroll and a stranger's name. Who am I? Really? I wasn't royalty. I wasn't noble. I wasn't a girl pretending to be someone else anymore. I was Emma, and Emma was brave enough to choose her own life. The next morning, I made my decision. I went to the Queen's private chambers where she was sipping tea and sorting through council letters. She looked up at me, and without a word, she knew.
"You're going home,"
she said softly. "I think I always knew I would," I replied. I spent the day packing, not gowns or jewelry, but the small things I'd collected. A pressed flower from the garden, a folded parchment with Amelia's handwriting, a tiny leather book Marjorie had once slipped onto my desk, filled with blank pages and the inscription, "For the stories you haven't lived yet." Marjorie and Samuel were already waiting by the gate when I arrived. They said nothing, but their smiles said enough. We mounted our horses as the palace loomed behind us in the early morning fog. As we rode, I looked back just once, not with sadness, but with completion. Nelson's hood was quieter than I remembered, but it welcomed me the same way it always had, without judgment. The forge was still warm. My stepfather's hands still calloused, my friends still loud and kind, and the sky? Still wide open. I began working again. Simple things, horseshoes, hinges, farm tools, but every time I held a hammer, I felt the strength in my own arms again. The power of choosing this life, of not needing a crown to know my worth. The days grew longer. The whispers faded, the kingdom moved on. But sometimes travelers would stop by the forge and say,
"Aren't you the girl who lived in the palace?"
And I would smile and say, I was. But that's not the story I told them, because the real story was never about royalty. It was about finding out who you are when the world tries to name you something else, and choosing to live by your truth even when no one's watching.